let's look at how we can create better activities within our program. Not just the program itself, but individually each activity. If you've been in this industry, you know some activities are a hit, everyone loves it, it's fantastic, and some activities just fall flat. The goal is we're going to limit the amount of falling flat and create very immersive activities that can be spread throughout your whole community and even your whole portfolio. It takes effort. It's going to be slow at first. It's going to be hard at first because you're learning new things. You're trying new philosophies. You're thinking in ways you haven't thought before. But I promise, as you keep doing it, it gets easier, it becomes second nature, and it really allows someone who's newer in the activity sphere or hasn't been pushed to really broaden the envelope will be able to do so much easier and create a better life for your residents. So the first technique is what I call vertical integration. And the purpose of vertical integration is allowing one activity to be enjoyed by people of different ability levels. And so we take an idea, a concept, and we create multiple entry points for our residents. Let's say we have an assisted living, a skilled nursing, a memory care, and an independent living, like a CCRC. Well, we want to do an art project, and we want to do an art project with all of them. Maybe in separate sections, maybe together. We just want to do art because it's important to us. And we understand that the art can reduce depression, increase socialization between people involved, and work that fine motor dexterity. So we want to do art. Well, for the independent residents, why don't we practice a still life? Maybe we watch some videos teaching us some common techniques and tips for still life painting, go on the Everyday Extraordinary Content Library for our still life advice. We set that up. Now, for our assisted living, maybe we come in with a simpler still life. Or maybe even we have a pre-made template that we're already using, and they can sort of start shadowing it in, adding the colors, adding in the lighting and details. And then for our dementia unit, perhaps we do something involving the water painting, where you have a sheet of paper that when you put water on it, the colors come through. Now, not everyone in memory care will need this, but those who are on the farther stages will need that. Someone who's a little bit just getting into dementia might be able to use acrylics or watercolors. They might start with the same basic shape and start adding some details. Then we go to our skilled nursing side, and depending on what we're working with, we can use any of those options that we already have, because we don't know what's affected, and you're going to have to use that. If you're working with someone who's been affected in the lower body extremities, their upper body might be fine. They could do something like independent living. If we have someone farther along on the dementia side, they might be doing more similar to what the memory care unit is doing. And so inside of especially short-term rehabs, you're going to have all these abilities at once. And so it's very important that you think in terms of vertical integration, because you're going to have the most integrated demographic there. Let's use another example with dancing. Let's say we want to do music and we want to add dancing to it. Independent living, maybe we do a fun line dancing with some mocktails. In assisted living, let's come up with some wheelchair and walker adaptions. Inside of memory care, maybe we're doing mirroring motions where everyone gets together and we give a few people who we don't think are going to be capable of doing that some shakers so that they can still participate along. Inside our skilled nursing standpoint, we're going to be sensitive to what specific ailments. If we're working with left side affected, if we're working with lower body affected, upper body affected, we want to have something for everybody inside of there. And what's important with this is we're not having to come up with all different activities for every different department. Rather, we come up with one general activity, and then we just find adaptations that we can do for different ability levels. This promotes dignity because we're not having to create childlike things for people who are just sicker. No, we keep the same dignity. We keep the same program. We keep the same message, but we're respectful of their abilities. We meet them where they are and we respect them where they are. So that is vertical integration. Now, let's look at theme-based activities for your calendar. A great idea deserves more than one go. In fact, many activities directors become overwhelmed thinking that they have to come up with different activities every day for their calendar. And not only does this burn you out, make you tired and just exhaust you, but it's also counterintuitive. It makes your calendar quite weak because there's no flow from one day to the next. And this is where theme-based activities become really, really valuable. And it's a small thing you can do that not only makes your life easier, but it adds a premium to your calendars. It adds a luxury standpoint to the lifestyle that you create in your communities. And what I mean by this is your days should flow. Your days should make sense. Your month should have a feeling to it. Themes allow you to do that. Let's stick with the examples that we had. Art and dance. Let's explore art first. You can have an art week. Now you can choose to explore an artist. You can choose to explore an art movement. Or you could take that art, look at where they're from, and expand upon it. So let's say we're studying Warhol. Well, we can go and study different people inside of that pop art movement. We could also look at artists that were around during that time. Study Warhol, study Basquiat, study Salvador Dali. We can study different people who are in that sort of surrealism frame. Now, we can also look at a study from Andy Warhol, Campbell Soup, Serendipity, New York culture. And we can start looking at what life was like in New York during those times and have different movies, have different foods that we explore, go to a local museum that displays that sort of artwork. We can also create a theme just within one activity where we have a week that is Week of Warhol. And we look at, learn, and replicate or are inspired by Andy Warhol's works across 5 different art activities that week or that month. This is where themes can be very, very influential to how you structure your programming because it can affect so much. You could have your snack time include the frozen hot chocolates that he was loved at New York Serendipity. You can include Campbell's Soup. You can make your own tomato soup and go through that process. You can start a tomato garden so that then you can make the soup 4 months later. The options are endless. But you see how this creates a narrative that then your marketing team can say, oh yeah, this is the week of Warhol. We're going through all this. In fact, here's today's display. Tomorrow they're going to be doing this. And then later next week, they're going to be doing this artist. Boom. Now you see that coherence and it seems like there's actually life that's going on and thought that goes into your calendar. Now let's take the dance example. Dance is very interesting because you can study the dance itself. You can study the music behind it. You can elaborate based on the culture or the location. If you're learning salsa music or the salsa dance, you can study Cuban food. You can study Cuban art. You can learn about the U.S. and do a theme with the U.S. Cuban Missile Crisis and what that looks like. You can theme coffees to Cafe Cubanos and Cafe con Leches. You can learn about the espresso that they use and how that differs from Italian or European espressos. Next week, you could have a whole thing on Italian coffees and Italian cultures. It's very easy once you start thinking of what to do for a theme to start building the next one and the next one and the next one. And then you vertically integrate that so all your community can do it. And you have this unified message of your programming that makes sense, is coherent, creates a great marketing message, and really just improves the life in your community.